Freelance greetings, Helldivers! Today we're gonna talk about, I think, the least used type of the stratagems within the defense stratagems, Minefields. And since there is no point in separating them, we're gonna talk about all of them at once. Let's go! Every minefield shares the same cooldown and the same calling time, cooldown being 120 seconds and calling time being 3 seconds, but with fully upgraded Super Destroyer, the cooldown is only 102 seconds, with calling time being instant. Also, what most of the minefields share is the deployment of the mines, deploying 48 mines, with exception being the anti-tank mines, which only deploy 18. In terms of explosion, the anti-personnel minefield deals 700 damage with medium armor penetration. Incendiary mines also deal explosive damage type 300 with medium armor penetration, but also set the enemies and the ground on fire, dealing 100 fire damage per second with heavy armor penetration. Gas mines deal 3 damage of gas type per explosion with anti-tank 2, but per DPS gas deals 25 damage and also is anti-tank 6. Lastly, the anti-tank mines deal 2000 damage of anti-tank 1. Also, the deployer itself can be broken and it has 250 HP, so it's pretty fragile. The three standard, let's say, minefields, anti-personnel, incendiary and gas minefields are for the chaff clear, and the anti-tank mines, as the name suggests, is for the heavies and for the elites, and they are not going to be set by anything. So, for example, smaller units and Helldivers can walk on it safely, although dropping a support weapon on it or the primary weapon is going to trigger them, and they can also be triggered upon damage. While on defense missions the mines are actually used, and often used, even though the reasons are the same for using them on normal missions, they are not being used. There is a reason, which I understand, but first let's talk about the mines themselves. The mines are deployed on a range of 25 to 30 meters, which is a bigger range than orbital precision strikes, but smaller than the orbital barrages. It's the exact same range as the orbital airburst strike and the orbital Gatling barrage. With that said, the mines can be used both as the defensive tool like sentries, covering the flanks and blocking enemy path, but also as the offensive stratagems against the enemy reinforcements and huge groups of units. The deployer itself actually attracts the enemies, so it actually increases the chance of those enemies walking through the minefield or at least getting into it. Unfortunately, the deployer is also the major flaw of the minefields, as if it's destroyed before it shoots out every mine, you basically lose the stratagems, so that's one of probably reasons why people do not pick them when it comes to normal missions, especially since it has pretty small health pool. At least with that short cooldown, which is very similar to the expandables cooldown, you can call them each time the enemy is calling for the reinforcements, and if you can keep the enemies away from calling the reinforcements, you can actually use the minefields in between those drops and don't call it a waste. Out of the chaff clear minefields, the worst one is going to be anti-personnel mine, just because after they explode they do not leave anything behind, so they are useful only once. But with the higher damage they are going to be better against masses of medium units. Incendiary mines though actually leave something behind, so they not only damage the enemies with the explosion, which of course has a smaller damage, but also sets the ground and enemies on fire, dealing that additional 100 DPS. And that can actually mean that they will hit more than a single target that has triggered the explosion. But by far from the chaff clear minefields, the best one is the gas minefield. First of all, it's the safest, as it's not going to one-tap you after you step on it, so you have easily time to steam. It of course does not have any explosive damage and has less DPS, but it still does an amazing job against the lightest of the units, dealing with them on a huge area, but also it confuses everything inside, including not only chaff and medium units, but also heavies, and also damaging them, being able to take down mediums and soften a little bit the heavies, most importantly confusing them, so the minefield actually works against them. Also, unlike the incendiary mines, the lingering gas actually lasts longer, covers a little bit wider area, and also can damage the flying units. The anti-tank mines are going to one-tap every heavy in the game, and they are very good against the elites, killing them in range from 1 to 3 mines, and it's also very good against something like the convoy on the automaton front. They can still be used manually against the smaller units, with you just requiring to shoot them, and since they have slightly bigger explosion, they will get more units dead, especially since they have pretty good damage of this 2000. But if you're bringing the anti-tank minefield, make sure to either have the teammates aware of where are you placing them, or just make sure nobody has a FRV, Bastion or the Max. because the minefield, as the name suggests, will destroy them. Also, to avoid friendly fire, you can ping the deployer, which will show it's a minefield around there, so if your teammates have brain cells, of course, they will not walk into it and you should be fine. Of course, don't drop the minefield right on top of yourself, because it's pretty unavoidable then. And also, if you step on the mine, don't be pissed, because sometimes they are hidden underground, but most of the time it's visible, so pretty much your fault. Okay, so now why they are not being used? Well, it's pretty damn simple. Orbital barrages and orbital strikes are just way stronger. The barrages especially, because they cover a wider area and there is no way for them to fail, and well, they deal more damage. The mines can of course be used as a replacement and some more versatility, but the really only upside from the offensive stratagems they have is that very short cooldown. But in normal matches, even with randoms, it doesn't really matter, because everybody has at least one response to enemy reinforcements, and even your simple throwables combined together are enough to take them down. Usually, not of course fully, you will still need to use your primaries, but you get the point. The minefields are only really better in two situations. First of all is the defense mission that I already talked about. Is because if the drop is small, the mines stay, and first of all it's a way safer way to discourage them without setting on fire half of the base of the defense mission. And also usually you would not have a ready orbital or any other response for another drop, as the gaps between them are not too big. And the second situation is solo diving. Since you are alone, you only have probably one orbital barrage, and once you use it, it probably will not be ready for another drop unless you prevent it and it's delayed in the time. If you don't prevent it, you will not have it ready. That's why the shorter cooldown of the minefield is going to be better in this situation. But of course, you can pull it off without them, or even without the orbital barrage, if you're skilled enough. But yes, the minefields might be better, but of course, if you can delay the drop, not big deal. So yes, I get why they are not being used, but I would say they are on the similar power level to the orbitals. Also, maybe don't use the minefields near the Super Earth citizens. Either it's an evacuation mission or it's a mega city. They are probably going to walk into them and die. Against the automatons, the best minefields are going to be anti-personnel mines, and maybe not the best, but also quite good, the anti-tank mines. Only really reason why the anti-personnel mines is actually the best here, actually two reasons. First of all, most of the enemies are the medium enemies, so you want a little bit more damage. And second of all, they are not crumbled up together that much. So you probably want just to kill the target and not get all of them affected, as probably it's only going to be like one or two troops stepping on the mines actually. But of course the automatons are the medium to long range factions, so not always will they be walking straight into your minefields. The second, anti-tank mines are going to be great against any form of heavy, as they can one-tap everything. Only tricky one is the Worst Trader, as it has tall thin legs, so it might not stamp on the mine, but if it does, it will one-tap it. And maybe it will not one-tap the Factory Trader, but it's still going to be pretty decent at killing it, and it's pretty good against the convoy, as I mentioned. Though the anti-tank mines are not the best of the best ways to kill the tanks on the automaton front, it's decent, I would say. Though not the best out of the front. We'll get to it. I wouldn't really take the incendiary mines here, but if you are going to take the gas mines instead of the anti-personnel mines, they might not be a great killing force here. They might be a mediocre killing force, but they are going to be an amazing utility, giving you some room to breathe, to get cover, and allowing for an easier time with something like the Hulk, as the confused Hulk will probably turn away from you and show its back to you, so you can actually kill it with anything you want. Against the Illuminate front, which is the squishiest front we have, the minefields are of course going to be amazing, as they can clear thousands of the volts, especially with just one stratagem, giving you kill streaks of at least 50 with ease. Of course, here the best ones are going to be the gas mines, which will not only give you huge kill streaks on those squishy enemies, but they also will leave something more tanky like the Flash Mob Confused, so it does not slam into you. I'm gonna be honest with you that I think the anti-personnel mines might not be keeping up when it comes to the mindless masses, only because of how much of the enemies there are. and since those mines do not leave anything behind, there is not an additional killing force. On this front we have the most interesting when it comes to the mines subfaction, which is the appropriators, and only really useful minefield against them is the anti-tank minefield, because it's going to be great against masses of heavies on this subfaction, and the most common enemy on this subfaction is the obtruders, which is flying enemy, so it's not going to step on the mine obviously. Though, even though the anti-tank minefield is the best one, it's not going to be like S tier or something, not even an A tier. Surely because every heavy on this front is a tripod. From the old as time harvester to the newest exomex, not like these are only heavies here. Only really the flash mob is going to be 100% if it stands around the mine is going to stand on the mine, but the tripods, because they have tall thin legs and spread apart, there is a high chance they are not going to step on the mines. Lastly we have the Termin front, and here the best ones are going to be the gas mines and the anti-tank mines, surprisingly enough. The gas mines of course for the every same reason as on the Illuminate front. It's going to be amazing chaff clear, and like I said in the usage part, it's the best out of them all, especially that it leaves everything confused, which is a great utility. But the anti-tank mines are also going to be very amazing, because first of all there is a lot of enemies and a lot of chargers which will be getting killed by the mines, but also there is one very common enemy that is counted as the one heavy enough to let off the anti-tank mines, which is the Alpha Commander. So with that much of the heavy enemies on this front, every mine is going to be utilized and the whole potential of the anti-tank mines is going to be used. Also, only on this front we have the cave system, and it's very hard to get, for example on the flag, any orbital stratagems into the little crack on the roof. But hellpots go there with pretty much ease, so the minefields are the best against those type of objectives, especially the gas mines as they are not that friendly fire, so their teammates have time to steam before they actually die to the mines, like to anti-personnel mines or to incendiary mines. And also in those small places it might be very hard to keep up with the tanks, so the anti-tank mines crumbled together will be killing shitload of them, leaving only few for you. And lastly, as always, the equip advisory section, and today we actually have some niche picks. First of all, the Eagle Cluster Bomb. It's going to work great with minefields, especially with incendiary and the gas minefield, as with one stratagem you cover 30 meters of area in lingering effect, which will deal good DPS, and also it will work nice with the anti-tank mines, setting them all off and causing a huge explosion, giving you some additional frag, except for the frags coming from the cluster bomb. My second type is going to be the Tesla Tower, and this one is going to work the best with the gas mines, as the other mines have a chance of destroying it. Pairing those two together is going to be an absolute area denial, even from the heavy units, even though you only really have the chaff clear items, but the confusion effect and the stun of the arc is going to keep the heavies stunned or at least confused for long enough for you to kill it with no problems. And for my third type is going to be a lure mine. Lure mine only really to make sure that they walk really into that minefield and don't go, I don't know, around or actually on the sentry or at you. They are going straight to the minefield and die. And of course, you probably should take some of the armor passive that will protect you from your own mines. Advanced Filtration, Inflammable, or any of the armor passives which gives you explosive resistance. So yeah, that's it. They are pretty solid. I get why they are overlooked, but well, maybe a little too much. For sure appreciated by the solo divers. And it's going to be it from me for today. I will be seeing you in the next one. See ya, Helldivers.